WWE took their NXT brand to the Battleground, while AEW went double or nothing. This is your amplified double review. Both shows covered in this upload. And while NXT had some hits and a lot of misses during their event, AEW put the bar exactly where it should be when it comes to pay-per-views, when it comes to premium live events, special events. If you put a $50 price tag, AEW just showed you how to give the consumer their money's worth. When you start the show with Mercedes and Jamie Hayter lighting it up, you finish the night with Ospreay and Hangman tearing it down. In the middle of the show, you have complete anarchy in the arena with the bodies hitting the floor. And even that stretcher match with Rico and Briscoe. Are you kidding me? From top to bottom, a couple of misses, yes, but AEW put the pay-per-view bar where it should be. When you go into a special event and it was actually special. We're going to talk all about it. Through the flip of a coin, NXT Battleground will begin this double review. AEW Double or Nothing is coming up. The opening match for Battleground 2025 from WWE's NXT brand. Kelani Jordynne, former North American champion versus current North American champion, Ruca. This, of course, for the aforementioned North American Championship. This is one of those matches you grab your coffee, you sit back, max, and relax, and you watch these ladies do some wild shit. Because that's what they did. The match clocked in roughly 12 minutes in length, packed with enough high-flying moves to make even BC question if these were pro wrestlers or jet airplanes. I'm pretty sure Sol Ruca came out of the womb, and the mama said, "Is it a boy? Is it a gal?" And the doctor said, "It's a 747 airplane." Sol Ruca is just most comfortable in the air. And Sol Ruca finishes this match with a wild soul snatcher from the top rope. Think about that. A soul snatcher from the top. And she nails it. It takes two to tango, by the way. Mad props to Kelani Jordynne, who took that soul snatcher like the champion that she is, with or without a championship title. Soul snatcher from the top. Soul retains. Kelani is left in frustration. I don't understand the Zarya thing. Zarya gets thrown out during this match toward the finish. You save that if you have a diabolical heel faction, maybe. And there's some cheatery, some extracurricular activity on the outside, so the referee says, "You're out of here!" And the crowd gets to do na-na-na-na, hey, 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 goodbye. But Zarya, that's weird. People like Zarya. Most people like Sol Ruca. Their faces. It was very odd to see that with Zarya, and that's why you have to be careful with these type of matches. I thought Kelani was heading more like a heel, but in her entrance, she's slapping high fives with all the kids and tapping little babies on their dome pieces and smiling. You can't play these tweener roles with Kelani Jordynne, and I have no idea why Zarya is being kicked out as if she's a massive heel. I don't understand any of that, and that's the type of booking on the main roster and in NXT that has to be cleaned up. But aside from that, if you want to set the tone for an event, this was the way to go. These two ladies did exactly what I knew they would. It's Kelani Jordynne, it's Sol Ruca. Again, get your coffee, sit back, max, relax, and watch these ladies do wild shit. Because that's what they did. Sol retains. Now, what was really cool here was simultaneously over in AEW Double or Nothing land, at the same time that Kelani and Ruca were going to battle, Mercedes Moné was taking on Jamie Hayter. This was going on at the same time. We'll cover that when we go over Double or Nothing, by the way, obviously. But what a time, what a moment in pro wrestling, especially for women's wrestling. Those two matches going on at the same time, man. kicking off the show. And I always tell you guys, man, a match that is just as important most of the times as the main event is the opening match. It sets the tone. It sets the energy. It sets everything for the night and how it's going to unfold. That was Jordynne and Ruca. Next was a Tank, and Briggs defeating the Culling in a 6-man tag. This was hard-hitting, and all 6 brought it. Unfortunately, I couldn't care less about it. Even if this was on NXT's Tuesday night show, I'd probably flip the channel. The faces end up collecting the W, and that's all I got to say about it. A filler match if I've ever seen one. Next up, Toni D versus Stacks. A lot of people sleeping on this match, but it's actually been one of the best pure stories in professional wrestling for the last several months. This match wasn't bad. I just wish it was better. It just wasn't as fun as I thought it could have been. The finish was doable. Ruca returns. Stacks hits a low blow off of the distraction. Subsequently, moments later, Toni D's looking up at the lights. Stacks takes off. Ruca gets in the ring. Goes to hug it out with Toni D, but Toni D extends his arm. No, keep your distance. I don't know who to trust at this point. Toni D, frustrated. Doesn't know if he can trust Ruca. Takes off. Ruca's sitting there with that, or standing in the middle of the ring with that look like, come on, Toni, it's me, Ruca. So there's still a lot of story to be told. And again, I like the story going into this. Maybe this is one of those situations where the story was always going to outweigh the actual match. That's possible. But I like the story. I still like the story and all the possibilities. And you got Rizzo in the fold eventually. So there's still a lot of good to come from this. But Toni D and Stacks could have and probably should have been a little bit more fun, a little bit more planning going into it. I don't care if you got to overbook it. I like overbooking because it shows you care. This was the Women's Championship champion Stephanie Vaquer versus challenger Jordynne Grace. This match clocked in roughly 16 minutes of exactly what we knew we were going to get. 2 of the best female pro wrestlers in the game today, trying to out-wrestle, outpace, outfight, and outlast one another. Stephanie hits a damn near perfect spinal tap corkscrew moonsault from the top, and it's just too much for Grace to overcome. Stephanie retains her title, and her meteoric rise continues. It's going to be interesting to see where Jordynne Grace goes from here. That's the downside of getting a title match this quickly and losing it. Jordynne Grace, many say, and BC included, you should have had that long ride to get to a match like this, especially if she's going to lose. She just can't be another stone thrown in the way of Stephanie to jump over. Another hurdle to jump over for Stephanie. So it's going to be very interesting to see where Jordynne Grace goes from here because it's tricky. And I just don't know if this company, not just the main roster, but NXT included, I don't know if they are going to give this the detail that it deserves. It's going to be interesting. But Stephanie winning, yeah, the right call, man. Stephanie's rise continues. When she drops that championship, it has to be in a massive match against the right person. Jordynne could have been way too early. Really good match. I did like Sol Ruca and Kelani Jordynne better if I'm going to compare the 2 women's matchups. But damn, that shows you how good Sol Ruca and Kelani was. If this would be placed second, that's how good this match was for the championship. Stephanie and Jordynne did the deed. Femi versus Miles Bourne for the NXT Championship. That's right. You're thinking, a lot of you guys are thinking, wait, championship? The World Championship for NXT? And Miles Bourne. BC, what is a Miles Bourne? You're probably wondering. I am still trying to figure that out. Seems like a good kid. Decent to even good wrestler. He's got a look. Okay. You're putting him on this PLE pay-per-view against Oba Femi. This better be making Oba Femi look really good, man. You cannot make Oba look like an absolute dork. This was silly. This was so stupid, and this was unrealistic. I get it if you want to do a Rocky story or put someone over or on the map, but you can't make your champion, especially someone like Oba Femi, look like a simpleton. Miles nearly beat Oba a dozen times in this match. Nearly knocked him out 6 times, rolled him up a couple of times. Miles kicked out of Femi's Oba bomb. Miles kicked out of Oba's finisher. Miles! It took 17 minutes for Femi to finally pin Miles. 17 minutes. Stephanie and Jordynne went through a 16-minute war. Femi could not beat Miles Bourne. 17 minutes. You can't possibly book this way. This is detrimental. You can't just book for the moment. You have to also book for the future. When Oba gets to the main roster, what does that say? Now it's going to take Oba 56 minutes to beat somebody like Roman Reigns, and that's even if he can. If Miles Bourne almost beat him already, he's not going to beat somebody. He's not going to beat Jacob Fatu. He's not going to beat LA Knight. I don't know if he's going to beat Tozawa. 17 minutes to beat Miles Bourne. You take on Roman, dude. Grab a blankie and some tea and somebody that can read you a bedtime story, because this match is going to go 56 minutes at least. And kicking out of Oba's bomb, his power bomb, you can't do... When he gets to the main roster... Am I supposed to believe that Cody is now going to get beat off of one Oba bomb? Randy Orton is going to get beat off of one Oba bomb? John Cena? Jacob Fatu? Just one Oba bomb when I saw Miles Austin. Or what the hell's this kid's name? Miles Bourne. That's what I am saying. You can't possibly book every match like it's WrestleMania 25, Shawn Michaels Undertaker, with a bunch of false finishes and kicking out of everybody's finisher. You can't book every match like it's WrestleMania 25, Taker, and Michaels, because eventually you're going to need to book a match like it's Taker, Michaels, WrestleMania 25. But it's the boy that cried wolf. You've done it so many times that nobody's paying the right attention to it. If Oba is already having these type of matches, and he's nowhere near the main roster, he's still the champion for that brand, and you're hoping that a lot of the fans just forget that. Just forget that, man. Watch Cody and Oba now have a 14 or a 13-minute match at Backlash or at Vengeance. Watch Roman and Oba have a 16-minute match. Oba Femi, man, you're still trying to book this dude to be that monster, so everybody does take a second look too. I'm still not totally sold on Oba. I've been starting to come along, however. Last night didn't do it any favors. I get you're trying to make a star out of nothing. Miles Bourne comes out of nowhere. A bootleg version of Randy Orton. That's just the truth right now. He's going to have to do a lot more character development and come along on his own for me to separate the two. And not look at him as a much, much lesser version of Randy Orton, because he's just smaller as well. The presence isn't there like a Randy Orton. They plucked him out of nowhere to try to make a star. It's not Build-A-Bear. You don't go into the mall, tell him what you want, pick out an outfit, and you have a star. You want to do that? That's cool. But you can't do it at the expense of Oba Femi. I cannot believe Oba Femi was taken to the limit like that, nearly beaten a dozen times. His finisher was kicked out of already, and he squeaked it out at 17 minutes. Unrealistic would be the word for that match review. But hey, Oba was able to retain, and don't worry, Beasley, this was just to put Miles Bourne on the map. Oh, that's what it was. Okay. While we now look at Oba Femi a little less in the prestigious category than we did going into it. The main event was next. For the TNA title, this was Joe Hendry, your TNA champion, versus Trick Williams, former NXT world champion. This was a great touch to have president of TNA Carlos Silva in attendance. It made the stakes feel higher because they were. This is for another company's championship. Now you're thinking, are they really going to put the title on Trick Williams? TNA wouldn't do that, would they? I mean, the return on their investment has been very minimal, if at any. They're just not getting the rub that they were hoping they were going to get by being attached to a conglomerate company like WWE. The ratings, the numbers, it's just not there for TNA. So far, this has been a one-sided relationship, and I told you that's how it was most likely going to be. And then they take their top star, Joe Hendry, and every time he's on WWE television, he's taking a loss, usually pretty comedically, right? Royal Rumble, maybe he lasted 60 seconds, possibly, before being thrown over the top rope. WrestleMania, we get to hear his theme song, and then a couple minutes later, he's looking up at the lights to Randy Orton, and we say, hey, at least we got to see Joe Hendry. But at what point does Joe Hendry have to win a match? One big match. He certainly can't show up to an NXT, a WWE show, and drop his TNA championship, right? Right? No, Trick Williams ends up pinning Joe Hendry and becoming the new TNA champion last night at Battleground. Trick Williams. On one side, you say, damn, what an interesting concept, and this can bring Trick Williams over to TNA more. TNA will now have this big NXT star on their roster a little bit more often. But on the flip side, you have to look at what has already been produced for us numbers-wise. TNA has not gone up. They haven't gotten that rub from this relationship. So Trick Williams, at least this is what the metrics are telling us, the statistics, the numbers, they're telling us that Trick Williams is not going to bring any sizable audience with him over to TNA. So that's what Carlos, the president of TNA, Carlos Silva, has to start looking at. Should we be bringing our top stars over to lose all the time to these WWE NXT wrestlers when we're not really getting a big investment on this? Our name is being talked about in the same sentence as WWE. Okay, but if nobody's caring about it, then our wrestlers are just looking like second-class bums. Joe Hendry losing last night, man, left a bad taste. I'm thinking, damn, TNA, and especially Joe Hendry, have just become WWE's bitches. And you say, well, BC, man, Joe Hendry has a huge future ahead of him in WWE. Not so fast. It's already clear that they look as Joe Hendry as just a funny gimmick. But he's more than that. So if you think it's a bright future, I'm hoping you're right, but don't be shocked if he ends up as the next Tozawa. Because it's clear that that's how this company sees Joe Hendry. And it's clear that this relationship was just to make TNA their bitches. And if they get huffy and puffy, I truly believe they're just going to buy them. TNA is eventually going to be the next purchase of WWE anyway. This was weird. Congrats to Trick. There is some cool stuff you could do with this, don't get me wrong, but damn, watching Joe Hendry lose all the time in a WWE ring, it's getting a little old, man, and at some point, TNA has to go, hold on, man, we need a huge win on one of your shows, if I'm to believe that this is a real relationship. And I know most people are going to say, BC, the fact that they're even being mentioned with WWE is a win for them. Man, you want the numbers to go up a little bit. You want to get some rub. You want to see that this is working in your benefit a little bit. But it's not. The numbers are not going up. Their talent is just getting beat by all the NXT wrestlers, man, on the biggest of stages for them. At what point is enough if you're TNA? I guess they're just happy with bitching out to WWE. They're just happy with being mentioned in the same sentence. So hey, have at it. Joe Hendry loses his title. Basically, he'll probably get it back in a month. Relax. In a month, he'll get it right back from Trick. You're missing the point. That very first match is all that matters, man. Everything else is not as significant. It's like watching a 3-game series, right? Recently, I just watched the Yankees take on the Rockies. Yankees are one of the best teams in the league this season, thankfully. The Rockies are literally the worst team. We went into Colorado and we lost the first game. We lost. There's no business losing to the Rockies right now, but we did. And I literally said right after we lost, it doesn't matter if we win the next 2 and we win the series. Losing that first game was a punch in the mouth you don't recover from. We ended up winning the next 2 games, and none of them felt as special as that first game. The first one matters. My Knicks just beat the Pacers last night in Game 3. But nothing is going to make up for that Game 1 loss when we choked and lost that huge lead, 17 points in the final 2 minutes. That first match sets the tone for everything. I told you guys earlier, just as important as the main event is the first match of the night because it sets the tone. You could have 5 matches with Trick Williams and Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry can win 4 out of 5. That first one is what everybody's going to remember. It's like Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns from 39. I remember that way more than 40. And 40 is the one where Cody finished his story. This was a massive match to finally put Joe Hendry on any type of a map to the WWE audience, because isn't that what this relationship was supposed to be about? This was a massive decision, and Carlos Silver watched his champion lose. It's almost like this company, WWE, loves to humiliate their competition, loves to humiliate anybody who's even in the same category as they are. They'll either try to buy you, squash you, humiliate you, or all of the above. All of the above. And that is your NXT Battleground 2025 review. Kicking off with a really good women's matchup. Kelani, Jordynne, Ruca. The next match, even close to that, was the other women's match, Stephanie and Jordynne. So the women, like they always do on NXT, absolutely brought it. The booking for the dudes, the performances, I feel could have been better. Oba and Miles, I have no idea what that booking even was. That did no favors for Oba Femi at all. Toni, D, and Stacks was the best story going into this event. It just wasn't as fun, wasn't as good as I was hoping for. And then you had the 6-man tag with the Culling and Briggs, Hank, and Tank, and that was just that's a house show maybe. And even then, I'd go up to get some refreshments, take a piss, go outside, pick up a bad habit. So yeah, it had some hits, but NXT Battleground, especially when you compare it to what we're about to talk about, Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing, literally, they didn't even say hold my coffee. They just shoved NXT aside. Tony Khan and AEW just booted WWE last night from the Spectrum. They said that was adorable. You tried to put on a little premium live event. Now we're going to show you how to do this pay-per-view thing. And that's literally what Tony Khan and AEW did. A massive swig of coffee. I'm going to down a whole coffee right now, and then we're going to talk about it. Double or Nothing from All Elite Wrestling for the year 2025. It was the 2025 edition of Double or Nothing from AEW, and they kicked it off with the Women's Owen Hart Final. Moné versus Hayter. These gals went 20 some odd minutes, and I'm pretty sure you can now add Jamie to the list of individuals that place Mercedes as their best match, or at least one of. That's what Mercedes does. She gives everyone their best match, and Hayter absolutely delivered right back. These two did the deed. The crowd very much behind Jamie Hayter for the most part, but in the end, it was Mercedes defeating Hayter via the awe-inspiring, ultra-devastating Farood roll-up pinfall. That's right, the roll-up. I love the match. I can't stand the finish. But don't get it twisted, though. This was absolutely the right call. One of the biggest women's matches in AEW short history is on the horizon with Moné versus Toni Storm. Both ladies have to go into that match on top of the game. Not on top of their game, on top of the game. So Mercedes had to win this match. I don't understand why that is so hard to comprehend for so many. And you just start to hear the Sasha Hogan or the Hulk Moné, right? Wins again. What are you talking about? Did you expect her to go in there and lose to Jamie Hayter just because Jamie Hayter is a good wrestler and she gets a good reaction? Fans like Jamie? Do you honestly believe that they're not headed toward Toni Storm and Mercedes, or that they should not be? Of course they should be. It's Mercedes Moné. This is Sasha Banks we're talking about. Toni Storm coming into her own and getting that championship. That's the money match. You can love Jamie Hayter, but Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm right now is not the money match. So what good would it do if Jamie beats Mercedes? Jamie gets more of a rub, BC. Jamie gets put on the map, BC. It's good for Jamie. It's not good for the business in totality, man. Right now, Mercedes needs to pick up these big W's. That match needs to be as monumental as imaginable between Toni and Mercedes. If you ask Bayley right now who is her best match, she's already told you time and time again, several times, it was Sasha Banks. If you ask Charlotte Flair some of her best matches, she'll tell you time and time again, Sasha Banks. If you ask Asuka or Io, if not one of their best, they will say Sasha. You're always going to hear that. It could be Ember Moon or Athena. It could be Bianca Belair. It could be Becky Lynch. Remember their match, Hell in a Cell. It doesn't matter. All these ladies will mention Sasha Banks as their best. That's because that's what she does. She just puts on really good wrestling matches because she's a really good pro wrestler. It's not that hard to understand. AEW is supposedly about the wrestling, right? They're the best wrestling company with the best wrestlers. That's what they tell us. Jamie Hayter's good, yes. Mercedes Moné is in a whole nother league. I'm not just saying that. I am telling you, ask any female who's faced her, they're going to place her at the top. That's what I mean by facts. Opinions, I don't even care about my own opinion. I'd flush that in the toilet with a morning shit. I don't care about opinions. Factually, there's no way Mercedes goes into this match and loses, and then in a month or two you go into All In, All Out, all over the place. Whatever pay-per-view you want to put Toni Storm and Mercedes on. After losing to Jamie Hayter, that's not how you make it special, man. That's the problem with WWE right now. They 50-50 book everybody, and they think it's okay. So when you have a match that's supposed to feel special, it doesn't, because we just saw dipshit Dugenheimer lose the last 10 matches out of 15. I understand. A lot of people just don't like Mercedes, so they don't like her winning. So it's like, oh, Mercedes Hogan strikes again. Mercedes has total control on her contract and creative. That's why she's always going to win. Now, she's always going to win because nobody can beat her, because she's the best there. She's too fucking good. You want the truth? That's why she's always going to win. And if Toni does beat her, that's going to be the monumental moment. Jamie Hayter's going to be fine. The bigger moment is Toni beating Mercedes if they wanted to do that. I'm totally okay with Mercedes winning that match. That's really going to implode the wrestling world when that happens. But if you're going to have Mercedes lose a big match, Toni Storm would be the one in that big title match, not Jamie Hayter at Double or Nothing. Come on, guys. Common sense. Jamie Hayter's going to be fine. Nobody wins if Mercedes loses this match. Not even Jamie Hayter, because that's not best for business. What a match. What a way to open the show. And as I said, this match was going on simultaneously while NXT was producing Sol Ruca and Kelani Jordynne. What a time for pro wrestling, for women's wrestling, man. At the same moment in time, two big PLE/pay-per-views and two really good women's matchups. FTR, by the way, man, congratulations to Mercedes, too. This was for the Owen that Owen Hart Cup, too. This was the final. I'm just thinking this is a really good match. And what it leads to, winner going over to Toni Storm, you almost forget that the Owen Hart, this was the final. So congrats to Mercedes for sure. What a big victory. FTR versus Nigel and Garcia. Garcia doing his best Hulk Hogan, right? The yellow and red. He's trying to Hulk up. Just got to pop in the vitamins, say the prayers, and what was the other one? Go to bed early? Drink your milk? What the hell was Hulk Hogan's thing? Just eat your vitamins, say your prayers, and something else. Damn, man. Wow, has it been that long? I don't know. Drink milk! Kurt Angle style. Anyway, Garcia's doing his best Hulk Hogan get up. Nigel and FTR, these four. I actually like how this match was set up. Nigel initially wanted nothing to do with this. He even told Garcia, dude, I appreciate you. I know FTR is running roughshod, but dude, we get squashed. They beat us. We'd get whooped, so no thank you. But FTR kept rocking the boat, so Nigel finally says yes to Garcia. So this was... simplistically, this was actually good, right? Simple but effective is what I call that. Simple but effective storytelling. This match was good. The only issue, it just went just a little too long. It went a bit too long. When you just saw that from Mercedes and Hayter, there's no reason these four have to go that long. Let Nigel get in there, his first match back. Everybody gets to appreciate that. Let the faces get some shots in. Maybe for a moment you believe they could win. But this is really about FTR not only winning, but continuing their badass streak of heel work. And that's what ultimately ended up happening, right? I believe it was Nigel that ate a shatter machine and Garcia passed out to a sharpshooter. So this was really all about FTR continuing their streak of badass heel work. And that's what they did, man. FTR really coming into their own in AEW as a diabolical heel faction, man. Especially when they're going to do things like that to somebody like Nigel, who's beloved by a lot of fans. So this served its purpose. Simplistic but effective storytelling. Match should have been a couple of minutes cut. And I think it would have been delivered a little bit more properly. But... all in all, again, good match, just a bit too long. FTR was the real story here, man. Continue their ascension to the top of the tag team division once again. Then, this matchup, man, this was a stretcher match. Ricochet versus Mark Briscoe. This was hands down easily one of the best matches of the entire night from both companies. And if I was participating in Anarchy in the Arena later in the night, I'd have been pissed. I'd have been like, dude, what are you doing? We're supposed to be doing all the fun shit. I'll give you just some of the wild shit that we saw, just the top of the dome piece. But there was so much, you really got to catch something like this when you have time. You really got to dedicate, what was it, 15, 20 some odd minutes. If you got you really got to see it to believe it. Because... just like I say about Anarchy in the Arena, you can't properly review something like that. It just has to be seen to be believed. But top of the dome piece, man, there was a Briscoe. Briscoe at one point shining Rico's head. He was like spraying Windex on it and then like wiping it down. Shining Rico's head. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. Then Briscoe took an old school Mick Foley with an elbow drop on top of Rico while on the stretcher. Briscoe catching a nasty steel chair shot to his face while attempting his triple jump over the top rope. And as he's about to ascend into air, Ricochet darts a steel chair at his dome piece, man. Hits him square in the face. In the face! What was that from, Hangover? Anyway, how about Briscoe using a fire extinguisher to get out of the ambulance and coming out of it like an absolute madman, dude? It was just such an awesome visual. And on the flip side, Rico, this dude was awesome in this match. I can't believe I'm saying that. I know, like a lot of fans, BC included, I kind of grew sour on Ricochet over the last couple of years. In the way that he acts outside the ring, like his personality and everything, he can be very over the top, annoying, right? So maybe he was always destined to be a heel and he gets to showcase that now and it's working to perfection because it's not that far off from Trevor. Who knows? But it just, Ricochet over the past couple of years, one of those dudes where I'm just like, oh man, let's get this over with. But Ricochet in this match I'm using the word, he was awesome. He is putting in some of the best heel work in all of pro wrestling right now. That's just a fact. And it's the little things, like the way he walked to the ring in this match. Who walks like that? Someone you want to smack upside his dome piece, that's who. And the way that he ran from Briscoe, that was a legit LOL moment, man. He's running away from Briscoe, and BC is thinking, who runs like that? Rico, that's who. That is a running meme for years to come. No pun intended. But he knows what he's doing, man. He's being an absolute ass clown, and it's working. It's hilarious. Not to mention, he has enough scissors to supply an entire school system. He's got scissors hidden in the crowd, scissors inside the ambulance probably, or I don't know where he grabbed the second. He's got scissors galore. He could run an Office Depot. Rico wins this match in the long run, but let's be real, there were no losers here, man. I mean, Briscoe, this is what he lives for. He loved this, man. He was busted open wearing the crimson mask. Briscoe certainly didn't lose. Rico actually won the match. All of us were the winners because this wasn't even Anarchy in the Arena, and we were all like, what the? Who has to follow that? What in the world is that about, man? Hurt Syndicate and Sons of Texas. I would have been pissed. I'd been like, seriously, man? You're just supposed to be a little Briscoe Ricochet sideshow match, man. Oh, man. That was a lot of fun, guys. That's what you want to see on a pay-per-view. If you're spending $50, if they're calling this a premium live event or a special event or a pay-per-view, man, you want to see something like that. And who would have thought, man, who would have thunk it that was just an appetizer to what we were going to get with Anarchy in the Arena? We'll get to that. But next up was the AEW Tag Team Championship title match. This was Hurt Syndicate versus Sons of Texas. Now, if you're thinking BC was going to like this match no matter what happens because I'm a huge supporter of Bobby Lashley and I'm a huge supporter of Dustin Rhodes, you'd be right. Yes, that is true. I was probably always going to praise this. But here's the thing. It was a good little fun match. The addition of MJF on what was really his first full night as part of the Hurt Syndicate was just the right touch. There was a moment where MJF distracted the referee and actually allowed Rhodes to kick Lashley right in the balls. And you know that hurt his syndicates. And these are seeds being planted, and eventually MJF will cost Lashley and Benjamin the things that mean the most, those titles. But it would not be in this match. Syndicate took the W, and a big shout out to Dustin Rhodes, 56 years old and taking that spear through the barricade. A certified GOAT. Just not enough to dethrone Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. Again, a nice little... You would absolutely consider this a filler match, and it was. Done basically at the last minute. I think last week they just kind of chucked this at us. But, I mean, that's how you do a filler match, man. You know, you plant some seeds for a story, and that's what they did with MJF and the Syndicate, and allowing Rhodes to actually get the upper hand on Lashley. And before Dustin got taken through the barricade, MJF was going to hit him with that diamond ring. Lashley stopped him. Lashley wanted to do dirty to Dustin Rhodes, put him through that barricade. So, you know, you plant the little seeds for an actual storyline. You have a fun little match in the process. That's how you do a filler properly. And yes, I was going to praise it no matter what, because it's Bobby Lashley and Dustin Rhodes. Next up, a Rainmaker defeats a Speedball. Okada retains gold over Michael Bailey. That's all I got. Listen, it wasn't bad. And I know I'm supposed to say all the things, right? Like, that was one of Okada's better matches recently. And wow, that Speedball Bailey is the future of AEW. But it's a major pay-per-view. I couldn't give a flying fuck about this matchup. I'm being very honest with you guys. With everything we just saw, And I'm watching Okada and Mike Bailey. And Mike Bailey just do a bunch of wild stuff. And I'm like, all right, I've already seen a lot of that. I'm going to see a lot more of it. I don't know. Wasn't feeling it in the moment. And yes, this is basically a filler match. I mean, there's nothing of real substance here, man. You keep your championship. Okay, nobody thought Michael Bailey was walking away with gold anyway. Or at least I would hope nobody actually thought that. But that's the difference between Hurt Syndicate and Sons of Texas, where I just felt there was substance to it. This, nothing really. And when the event is over, I don't know how many people are really talking Okada and Mike Bailey, Speedball. Again, this was not bad. It's just on this whole event, this would probably be the least talked about if we even talk about it. If we were back in school and chilling around the water fountain, or if we're at the cubicle at work, and we're talking about AEW Double or Nothing, I don't believe we're going to even mention Okada Speedball. All right, that's it. We'll move on. I'm just saying. Tell me how you really feel, BC. Toni Storm defeats Shirakawa to retain. More coffee, BC. To retain her women's championship. Mina eats a Storm 0 pinfall. I didn't have any expectations for this match, but it was... I guess I was hoping it'd be better than what it was. Again, I wouldn't put this in a bad category at all. It just... Again, no expectations, that's the good thing. I was just hoping this had I don't know, I really wanted to see a lot more out of Shirakawa. Toni Storm now knowing that it's Mercedes Moné next, I wanted to see a little bit more. I just didn't get it. At the end of the day, Mercedes with a big W, Toni Storm with a big W, and these are big steps to get to that mountaintop we're all trying to get to. Moné versus Storm. So I'm looking at the bigger picture, and this was just a stepping stone to get to such. The real story was after the match, man. Toni Storm and Shirakawa sharing a kiss. It was supposed to be mutual respect. Maybe a handshake, maybe a little hug, maybe a tap on the ass. But they locked the lips a little bit. I'm like, all right, that's kind of pay-per-view did we order? That's the real story. Everybody's talking about Toni Storm and Shirakawa kissing. So I guess that also tells you a lot about the match. Again, not bad. It's just kind of like Speedball Bailey and Okada. Nothing really to talk about. And when you have matches like Jamie Hayter and Mercedes, Hangman and Ospreay, which we're going to get to, Anarchy in the Arena, the stretcher match, you almost feel bad for these type of matches because there's no question they're going to be lost in the shuffle. Now, I've mentioned it a couple of times, and it was next. It was Anarchy, and it was in the arena. I don't even know. There's no way. I say this every time there's an Anarchy in the arena match, and I have to review it. And I tell you guys the same thing, and it's no different right now. I can't properly review this, so I'm not even going to try. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I could say that would properly describe what we witnessed last night. I say this all the time. I say it again. You have to literally see this to believe it. I'll run down just some of the stuff that was in this wild... What was this? 25, 30... I don't even know. You just literally are in awe. This is probably one of, if not the funnest gimmick match in pro wrestling right now for BC. That might be a hot take. But I don't see how it could be a hot take. Steel cage matches don't have any luster anymore. It's basically a fence now. It's just you're wrestling inside of a fence. Any landscaping crew can put up a fence and call it a cage match, I guess. Nothing happens. Look at this. We just got one on Saturday night's main event. Damien's walking out. Even Jesse Ventura couldn't believe what was happening. That's the cage match, he says. Jesse Ventura ripped Damian Priest and the whole booking apart. I don't even blame him. No holds barred. No holds barred. What is a no holds bar? You just use some steel chairs and you put somebody through a thinly pieced wooden table. Okay. A kendo stick might make an appearance. And don't get me started on street fight. Every time we hear there's a street fight, there's no street involved. You're basically just reverting back to what a no DQ match is. And you're just seeing kendo sticks, steel chairs, and tables. So no, it shouldn't be a hot take. Anarchy in the Arena is my favorite match right now. My favorite gimmick match, no doubt about it. Second would be a TLC. Maybe like a ladder type match. But there's nothing like Anarchy in the Arena, man. Mox's crew shows up in his truck. You got the Young Bucks dressed up as colonial. I don't even know. It's Memorial Day. They're the founders of AEW. To which Tony Schiavone's like, give me a fucking break. Schiavone telling you how he really feels, man. The Young Bucks were hilarious. You got some like flutes or violins or something playing on the through the arena. I don't even know what that music was. They just kept it playing. I was like, after a while, BC was like, do-do-do-do-do-do. And then all of a sudden, I'm so excited, starts blasting. It became a jukebox in the old, you go into the bar, you put a quarter, you get to play your own songs. The arena just started playing all the wildest music. And then Kenny Omega gets on the microphone and he's like, let's take this back or something, man. Let's put some rock music. I forgot what he said. And all of a sudden, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor just starts blasting. The arena implodes, guys. There's no word for it. Goosebumps. The whole arena starts bouncing and screaming with the music as these wrestlers are beating the hell out of one another with bodies hit the floor blasting through the arena. I hope these words are even semi doing this justice. It was so... I mean, that's one of the things That's one of those songs that, like, you just envision, like, wouldn't it be cool if somebody actually paid for the rights of that and you got to see, like, wrestlers battling with that music playing? But you're never going to get that because nobody's going to pay for the rights, right? Vince wouldn't do that. Hunter Helmsley and Ari and Nick Khan are not going to do that. But Nick Khan will. Nick Khan has shown you he will pay for this music. He'll pay Elton John. He'll pay the NBA on NBC theme. He will pay for all of this music, man. The Young Bucks old theme, man, with Kansas, the band Kansas. He had that play. He will pay for this music if it means a memorable moment or he thinks it's going to do something for the character or for the match, for the segment, for the moment. So props to Tony Khan, because that was a moment that literally as a fan, you just remember for a lifetime, man. That's one of those moments. It really is. I cannot speak more praise of that. Man, BC's going on for 5 minutes about music, but you have no idea how monumental this was in this matchup. Anyway, back to what I don't even know, guys. Top of my dome. There's no notes on this. That's the thing. There's no way you could properly do notes on a match like this. So it's top of the dome piece, man. You had forklifts. At one point, like... I think it was the Young Bucks were working on somebody, I forgot who, and all of a sudden Swerve is somebody's riding Swerve. Oh, I forgot who. Oh, man. There's just so many people. But Swerve was on top of the forklift, and it rides up, and he just dive bombs onto the Young Bucks. This was up by, like, the staging area. So you got forklifts, glass bottles. I think, like, who was it? Shafir, like, hit Willow with like a glass bottle over the forehead. That was wild. You had staple guns. I think Swerve took a staples to the tongue. Thumbtack sneakers. You're hearing this correct, man. I'm not this thumbtack sneakers. And you got some super kicks from it and even stomps. Swerve stomps with a thumbtack sneaker. Guys, I don't know. This is just some of the stuff. Again, I say it all the time. You have to go back and you have to watch something like this because it's if you love pro wrestling, and this is pro wrestling to me, man. It's not just all the gymnastics you can do and all the, oh man, it's a sport to me. It's real to me, damn it. And I want to see the best wrestler A versus the best wrestler B to find out who the best wrestler is. Can we do another tournament? For the next 2 months, can we do a fake tournament to find out who the fake pro wrestling best is? No. Pro wrestling is larger than life characters, storylines we care about, moments that'll live a lifetime and beyond. Captivating television or pay-per-views has you on the edge of your seat. You want to talk about it the next day. It's a cliffhanger. You can't wait to see what happens next. That's the emotions that pro wrestling should be driving out of you. We don't get that anymore. So yeah, allow me a few minutes to be really excited about something in pro wrestling. Thank you, Tony Khan. Thank you, AEW. These matches fucking rock. There was just fun, man. You know, just thinking about it. That's to sum it up. AEW was just fun last night. Just fun. You watch Saturday night's main event, there's no pulse to it. BC, there was 2 returns. Who? Jeffrey Cobb. It might as well be. I thought it was Jeffrey Cobb. JC Mateo. Bronson Reed comes back. He was injured. He was always coming back. Am I supposed to praise Hunter Hearst Helmsley because Bronson Reed finally came back? And Cody Rhodes took a weird vacation. Weird. After he lost the title. He just disappeared. Of course he was coming back. I'm supposed to praise Hunter Helmsley on an amazing show because Bronson Reed and Cody Rhodes came back. Bronson became a third man. I don't care about a third man. You can't even book the 2-man properly. You have not booked Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins properly. You think adding another person's going to help the situation? You can add a 4th, a 5th, a 6th. You can add the Green Power Ranger. You can add Optimus Prime. You can add Steve Urkel. Add Will Smith. It wouldn't matter. You can't book them properly. I don't care about who a third man is. Cody Rhodes came back and made a weird tag match on the spot. Him and Jason Uso versus Logan Paul and John Cena. What the fuck is that? That's something you might pay $4 for at a house show. We gotta watch that at their pay-per-view. There's no pulse to these shows. Saturday night's main event, I was live with you guys, man. I was hoping for the best. I really was. When the show ends, nothing was exciting. I was live. The show ended and we were all like, that's a weird tag match. But hey, Cody's back. Okay. There was nothing to talk about. You see Damian walk out of the cage? Wow. They really wrote Drew McIntyre off TV. Always good to see a diabolical heel beat up so badly. That was weird. And I don't even remember any other match on Saturday night's main event. How sad is that? I don't like to compare when I'm doing reviews of these shows, but I want to show you guys just how bad it is on one side. But then the other side actually likes what they're doing, loves what they're doing, and that showcases, right? It's like contagious, and you see the fun that they're having, and we get to have fun. I don't care what company you guys like better, right? That's preference. What I will say, man, and I'm still coming around to AEW. I am by far nowhere near what I say I'm this huge supporter of AEW. You guys know that. But what I am noticing is that AEW is just more fun right now. There is a pulse to AEW. Do they need to get better in so many areas? Absolutely. Is it as good as it could or should be? No, absolutely. There's so much that needs to be done. But I can easily say after watching Saturday night's main event, after watching Battleground, and after watching AEW, there's a pulse over on AEW, man. There's fun over there. It's not just run-of-the-mill, status quo, business as usual redundancy. It's not just a feeling of on to the next. Anyway, this Anarchy in the Arena, it's everything that I fell in love with pro wrestling about, man, and then some. I mean, this is a little piece. You'll never get like the Attitude Era back. You guys always hear people talk about the Attitude, because that was just you'll never get an era like that. Everyone tries to compare and everybody tries to mention it. Cody Rhodes and everybody tries to sell you that this is the bigger boom period. This is bigger than the Attitude. Please. There's no feeling to these shows. Attitude Era, all there was emotion. You'll never get that, but this is the closest piece that you could possibly get. I mean, it literally transports you back to late 90s, early 2000 maybe. You know what I mean? Like just that era. Well done by everybody. That was completely so much fun. Did I even tell you guys who won? I think you guys know, right? Faces obviously have to take a match like that. Absolutely wild. You got to feel bad for the the Callis family and Cole Riley and Roddy Strong. Full transparency, my Knicks were coming back from a huge deficit game 3 of the conference final. And the Knicks were down. They were going to lose that game. They were going to go down 0-3 in the series. They just couldn't beat the Pacers. We were coming back, and we actually ended up winning that game last night. So my attention during what was all on my Knicks at that point, believe it or not, man. So the Callis family and the new version of the Undisputed Era, that got none of my attention at all. So I can't give you a proper review on that. That's just full disclosure, being honest as imaginable with you guys, as I always am. The Knicks got my attention during that. A huge comeback by my New York Knicks. So I did miss this match due to that incredible comeback. I feel for these 6 dudes, though, having to follow Anarchy in the Arena. I really do feel for them, man. That's not a position you want to be in. And from what I'm hearing is that was definitely the downer match right after. So response-wise and everything. So... And I did see, a lot of people are criticizing too. Why would you even put that match after something like Anarchy in the Arena? Well, you do need a downer match though, because you want to set up for that main event. I always felt bad for the ladies. For many years, they would put the women on right before the main event. So that was the time for everybody to go to the bathroom or get your drinks, go outside, do what you got to do, pick up a bad habit, throw yourself in traffic, wake up, come back for the main event. I felt bad. The ladies were always put in that position. So... AEW put the Callis family, O'Reilly, Roddy, and Adam Cole in that position. And then it was the main event. This was the match I was actually looking forward to the most. I should have been looking forward to Anarchy in the Arena. But the story between Paige and Ospreay, it's just in simplistic promos, face-to-face promos, you really feel like they just mean every word they're spewing. When they say that winning was the only option, like you believed it. This was a heavyweight fight. Both dudes saying that winning was the only option, and they wrestled as such. The reaction was good throughout, but noticeably hindered from that damn Anarchy match. So even with the 6-man tag beforehand, it still wasn't enough to totally wake up the crowd. But that shows you not just how good Hangman and Ospreay is and how good of a match this was. That just shows you because the crowd was still really into it. Could you imagine if they didn't do Anarchy in the Arena and if the crowd hadn't just witnessed 4 hours of wrestling before this match started? Could you imagine the reception that these two would have been getting? But the poor crowd needed a caffeine IV at that point. It was going to take a special match to get any juice out of them. Insert Ospreay and Paige. That's all I got to say, man. If any two were going to get a response from that crowd, it was these two, and that's what they did. How about a buckshot lariat from the corner? Got it. That's right. How about a Styles Clash from the apron to the floor? Got it. How about that moment? I call it the elbow pad moment, right? Where Hangman is about to do a buckshot lariat. He's on the east side of the ring, commentator side. And Ospreay's on the west side of the ring toward the entrance side. So he's on the left side of the ring, and Hangman's on the east side of the ring. And Ospreay, they both have been to a war at this point. Ospreay takes his elbow pad off. And Ospreay's like, the second I hit you with the blade, you're knocked out. And Hangman takes his elbow pad off, basically saying, the second I hit you with this buckshot lariat, you're out. And both are like, oh, like an old school duel, right? All we're missing is a tumbleweed in the desert. And they just go, let's go. And they both meet in the middle, and Hangman hits him with the lariat before Ospreay can gain the advantage. I just thought that was... You want to use the word cinema? Again, all you're missing is the tumbleweed. What a moment. And another moment that needs to be talked about, probably everybody overlooks, but this is what I love about pro wrestling. This is why I love dissecting it. The little things to BC are not so little. There was a moment where, and I forgot the exact move, but it was some type of a driver. I remember that. And Hangman hits Ospreay with this driver. And it's 1, it's 2, and without even looking, Ospreay puts his foot on the second rope. Do you want to talk about ring awareness? Guys, this is a monumental moment. If you botch this, that's all that's going to be talked about. That's a massive botch. Hangman's leg is covering the face of Ospreay. He cannot see. And the ring awareness, man, he just puts his... Most wrestlers would have to look first. I see it all the time. All the time. If you were wondering how good Ospreay is, he's amazing, not just for the flips and the dives and the gymnastics that he does, but for all of the other things as well. Ospreay just puts his foot casually on there, like taking a sip of coffee. I mean, this wrestling thing is just, it's just so, it comes so naturally for somebody like Will Ospreay. I just thought that was, the ring awareness, I've never seen it like that. The ring awareness of Will Ospreay is second to none. I had to mention that. Flawless reversals in this matchup. Just everything just seemed so like they just wrestle each other every single night for the last 15 years. You know, I mean, that's what it felt like so many times. These dudes went, what was it, over a half an hour, I want to say? I didn't clock it, unfortunately. I really do believe this went over a half an hour, guys. If I'm wrong, it can't be by many minutes. I believe this was over a half an hour. Paige would win this thing with a buckshot lariat. I felt like I saw 65 buckshot lariats, or at least attempts. Usually I don't like that, but if you saw the match, you know that it actually gelled pretty damn beautifully. But this is a controversial victory because a lot of people thought it was going to be Ospreay, especially with the momentum that he was carrying, especially with what he said on Dynamite in that promo when he said, "I know, mate, if I beat you, I know I can beat Mox." And that was such a key, those were key words, man. That was the words that were setting up a victory over Hangman in that matchup with Mox. But they actually had Hangman, and there's no wrong way to go. Hangman's at the top of his game as well. Did you see the year that Hangman just had? Hangman's one of the best wrestlers on the planet right now, and I'm not just talking pound for pound, although he can hang with the best of them. He just showed you again last night. But I'm talking about just like character-wise, booking-wise. Hangman's right up there, man. So there's no loser here. And it leads you to believe, are they going to hold Ospreay out for a London win? So then does Hangman not get the job done to Mox? And they're saving Ospreay London. There's so many ways. It looks like they're just saving Ospreay and he still will get that big moment. It remains to be seen if this loss hinders that. I don't see a wrong way to go here, man. At the end, you were just like, either one of these dudes win. It's a collective win for all of us. After the match, mutual respect. I don't like that. I wish Hangman just kind of took off, man. You could do so much more if Hangman just leaves. Stop at the aisleway like he did while Ospreay has his hands on his head. Ospreay is on his ass in the middle of the ring, hands on his head like he just lost one of the biggest matches of his lifetime, because he just did. And Hangman is seen in the background going up the aisle, but he stops and he looks back. That's perfect. Sit on that visual, get camera B, C, and D on it. Cool, man. And then have Hangman continue on. But these promoters can't help themselves, and they just, after you see a really good wrestling match, you gotta have them shake hands after, man. It's mutual respect. Let the fans go, yeah, we love you both. Stop. Nothing comes from that. You can do so much more storyline-wise with both of them, together or separately going forward, if you just have Hangman leave. We don't always have to see the handshaking, guys. We don't. That's right there. Hangman, stop, look. There's a little bit of damn. And I understand BC, but remember what he said. There was a part of him that wanted to go back after the Swerve match, but he never did. So this is actually really good storytelling. This time, he's going to make sure he doesn't have that regret. I understand. I do. I'm willing to sacrifice that. I'm willing to sacrifice it. I did not need to see these two shake hands after. We know it was a great match. We know you guys have respect. Man, keep it separate. You just had an amazing match. You go your way, you go your way. So when you get back together, it's going to be interesting. Now I'll always remember, oh, you already shook hands. And for a long time, too. They were like exchanging Christmas gifts with their eyes afterwards. They're like, I'm going to get you some new socks. Yeah, well, I'm getting you a new tie. But mutual respect aside, what a main event. What a start to the night with Mercedes and Jamie Hayter. What a finish to the night with Ospreay and Hangman. Anarchy in the Arena with an appetizer, the stretcher match. I mean, $50? You don't want to pay that with the way that pro wrestling is today, man. Nothing is worth $50 is the sentiment, and I agree with you. If you pay $50 for this event, you got more than your money's worth. Not only everything we just talked about that was so damn good, but Tony Khan gave you over almost 5 hours of wrestling, bro. Too much? Absolutely. You got to cut that a little bit. But, I mean, there's so many times where you forgot about how long you've been watching pro wrestling because it was fun. So, both companies did their own thing, and they did it in totally different ways. I don't want to necessarily compare the two and talk about which was better, but I'll absolutely do that for you guys because it's a double review. My thought on this, my honest take, AEW completely powerbombed WWE last night in the NXT brand. NXT, Saturday Night's Main Event together. If you put Saturday Night's Main Event with Battleground, you put them together, they didn't light a candle to what AEW produced last night. And that is your double review. NXT Battleground from World Wrestling Entertainment and Double or Nothing from the All Elite Wrestling promotion. BC Amplified saying check you 44 dive. That's a wrap until next time, and there will be that next time. Unit solid.